a lot of times maybe when we think about positive change, we think like, oh, if the government would just change this law, then it would be fixed or solved. But I think until people are really able to work together and all truly like have the desire in their hearts to actually contribute to this change, then we won't see as much progress. So along these lines, one thing that I've been doing in my community on a local level is having a weekly neighborhood class for children. We started going through a curriculum where it starts off like each week the kids learn simple qualities like trustworthiness, kindness, generosity, love. And then as they go on, the concepts become increasingly more complex. So now they're learning about like seeking knowledge, engaging in consultation, living in harmony with others. In addition, these classes have become more than just like a weekly activity, and now we're really seeing them turn into like a whole process that builds community and trust and friendship. So, for example, a few months ago, we had, our class consulted and decided to have a neighborhood service project. And it really came about through consultation. And we decided to have a service project called Walk, Talk, and Chalk the Block, where we invited, we went around our neighborhood, invited our neighbors to come and like write meaningful messages on the sidewalk with chalk. So I'd say that, like, in summary, this children's class has been helping in two ways. One way is like we've been teaching kids these important life skills that they can later use to contribute to this discourse. And then the second is just building community and friendship and trust.
Some of the thoughts that come in mind on how youth can really be interconnected is creating spaces. I mean, I'm thinking like, for example, this space that we have right now, where the youth are also taking charge in talking about these affairs that are happening in society and how they themselves are interacting with the environment and how they themselves see as protagonists, active agents of change. They're not just young people who are sitting and waiting for something to be done, but they are actually seeking to do something, to bring about change. There's this process that is happening in the Baha'i community where young Baha'is together with their friends in the community come together to study. And when they study, they act. So they study and act at the same time. And they study these materials that equip them, again, with this knowledge. And they go into the field and test this knowledge. And then they come back and reflect. One of these positive thing about these junior youth groups is that they actually they create that connection, that friendship, that camaraderie, where you're both going out in the field and you're solving a problem together. You're not doing it on your own. You're doing it together. And when you come back, when you sit and reflect, you reflect as a team. So what has happened? What could we have done better? How could we have, maybe who else could we look at and to bring about so that they can also assist us the next time?
Obviously, grassroots action is so paramount to this transformation, and the youth involvement in these initiatives is like indispensable. There's also something to be said about having the leaders, these leaders of tomorrow, as we call them, involved in the decisions of today, right? I think that sometimes we feel like, okay, we're going to be preparing, and all the actions that we're doing is preparing for the disasters that are awaiting us somehow because of the decisions that are being made for these future generations. The involvement of youth cannot be understated. For example, in the EU, they've been trying out these new forms of governance known as like region strategies. And so, for example, in the Alpine region, which covers like, I think 6 different countries, including like Switzerland, south of France, Italy, and all of those regions that cover the Alps, because it shares such a geographical phenomenon, that governance has been dedicated to a specific body that's made out of a General Assembly, an executive board, and action groups. And one of these action groups is youth-led. And that's to say that the youth that are living in that region, that are facing the challenges every day, and it's a very specific region, have a voice to be heard in the decisions that are made regarding that region. And it's already protected because it's the Alps and it's like a very wealthy area. But it's an example to say that the voices of youth are being heard more and more these days. And it's time to tell, like, each one of us here today can go out and say, like, you should feel empowered, that there are so many resources available to us. And I think in certain regions more than others, obviously, as Lua shared, but that youth have the opportunities, the right, and the desire to make this change. And sometimes we forget that, or we just don't know that these things are available to us.